Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 5th meeting of the Community Preservation Committee meeting. The intent for our meeting tonight is to deliberate on funding for the 2025 allocation to the fund and the 2025 CPT applications presented by all of you in front of us here today. I'd like to start off with a quick meeting minutes for approval, January 8th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approved. So, in order for us to be able to finish this last part of the year, we will take our total sum of funds presented as part of the CPC. This year's sum. We have $2,007,724.12, of which some of that is allocated into different pots, the three different areas that we consider here: open space and recreation projects, historic preservation, and community housing. There is a dollar value assigned to each one of those columns, which we will need to take a portion of for those projects, but we can spend as much as the full $2 million that we have in the pot. We don't have to spend all that money. Upon our approval of a full package, this will go to the City Council for their approval, for their review. They can do a couple things. They can approve as recommended. They can also reduce the amount funded to a specific project. They cannot increase the amount funded to a specific project. I expect for that to happen in May if we're able to complete this tonight. Hopefully we will. If we don't complete this tonight, we have a meeting in April that we would continue our deliberation. We have 11 projects here in front of us, and our job is to figure out which portions of those monies we will present to each of the projects. A quick recap. There's, in the open space and recreation category, there's two projects. There's the All Wheels presented by the City of Lowell. They've requested $600,000 of funding. There's the Victorian Park in downtown. They've requested $26,776 in funding. In community housing, we have 4 projects, and 2 of which are also historic preservation. The 2 community housing only projects are Suffolk Place, who's requested $850,000, and the creation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, presented by the City of Lowell, for $310,000. The 2 projects which are community housing and historic preservation are Mass Mills 4 and the Veterans Building. The Mass Mills has requested $803,522. Veterans has requested $500,000. There are 5 projects which are only historic preservation projects. There's 246.1 Market Street, who has requested $779,121. Cobblestones for their window replacement at $395,771. The Smith Baker Building, $859,236. 93 Mammoth, $125,000, and St. Anne's at $401,125. So we've got over $5.5 million of requests here, which we've only got $2 million, right? We will not be able to fund everybody's project in full, and it will be up to us to decide. Hopefully we can fund everybody's in part. This is an open meeting. We have invited our presenters as well as the general public. We do ask, though, that you respect that this is a deliberation. We may ask questions of you tonight, but other than that, we ask you not to input unless you're directly requested to. So I'll turn it over to the members. And just for the record, I do see that Ka has joined us online. So we are a body of 6 tonight. Yeah, let's start with a roll call.
Vice Chair Viceroy.
Here.
Member Boudmaz.
Here.
Member Latcher.
Here.
Member Tanzai.
Here.
Member DePizza.
Here.
Member Ka.
Here.
And Member Dickey.
Here.
Oh, he just said here.
Here.
I think he's on his phone.
Cool.
Lloyd, is that you with the telephone number that's showing up?
Yes.
Hi, Lloyd. All right, great. So we're 7. There's always a little bit of hesitancy to get this ball rolling, but if anybody would like to, we can talk globally. We can talk about a specific project. If there's anything that you might want to put on the table, maybe knock off an easy one.
Yeah, the first one is 2125 Shattuck. It's 26 grand. Seems like an easy one to fund.
That's Victorian,
The Victorian
Yes.
Park, yes.
under open space.
Seems like an easy one to fund, and so.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I was just gonna ask one quick question before we got
Yeah,
going.
yeah, go ahead.
Just for a clarification. The Affordable Housing Trust, I wanna understand that because it
Mhm.
crosses over so much now with what we're doing.
Sure.
Funding that Affordable Housing Trust then gives another opportunity for the affordable housing projects, the community projects, to have another bite at the apple. Is that correct? How would you characterize it?
Okay, so
Yeah.
we have an existing affordable housing trust in the city of Lowell. That fund was currently seeded with ARPA funds, which I think everybody knows was like a one-time thing, and then those funds are gonna go away.
Mhm.
And so the trust has requested essentially the minimum amount we have to spend on housing.
Mhm.
They requested around 300 and something thousand, for housing. The communities who have both an affordable housing trust and a community preservation council typically do, what they typically have done is the CC will vote to essentially,
Lloyd, can you mute yourself unless you're talking?
or Peter, can you do it?
No, I'm not talking, it was off.
Sorry about that, everybody.
We're back.
Okay. Well, just so that we don't have to do this many times over, the quick take on everything is, I don't think it's necessarily fair to kick all affordable housing off. I think that people, again, put their time, effort, and energy in something we should review. I just thought it was worthwhile to make sure everyone understood what the opportunities are placed before. And so my last question on that would be, is it correct, based on what we were looking at, that the trust currently, if we were to approve the full amount, would be at $3,200,000?
No,
No.
they only asked for 300 and
310.
something.
No, I know, but then when they go before, what does the trust have to give out currently?
Oh,
The
yeah.
balance?
Yeah,
okay.
Correct. They have that plus if whatever this group decides to send them.
Okay, so, under that guise, there is potentially $5 million in funding that's available between the $2 million that we have and the 3.2 that is currently, or is with, when we put this?
3 plus 2 plus us, 3.2 plus us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right, so, in the end, for all that are here doing all projects, the good news is, there is a substantial second fund, so whatever goes on, whatever we decide, there is additional opportunity that is available for everybody in the category of community housing. I just wanted to make sure we make all of that, kind of, as we go through our deliberations, and then I'll go back to Member Tenzar's.
No, it's funny that you mentioned this housing trust, because one of the things I was thinking about is I would like a say in what housing gets developed and what funds go forward. Once it goes to the housing trust, we're out. You know, so, I had mixed emotions when it initially got brought up. I understand its purpose. I understand that, we're saying that there are professionals that are dealing with this. But I like the fact that this board and then the council has a say, because it's my understanding that that's not the case with the housing trust. So, that's where I'm coming at with regard to the Affordable Housing Trust. Oh, sorry. Anyways, back to 2125 Shattuck Street. Let's get that off the...
Last thing, I think that if we do fund this, if we do decide to fund this, then we should expect to take the community housing projects off of our docket. It seems to be the path that people have gone down, and that's why the city has presented this. In the cases where this fund exists, it is removed from the purview of the CPC. I hear you. I would like to, I love that we talk about all three of these facets of this fund. But I do support the city in their, you know, endeavors to create this fund, and I struggle with the idea of there being two funds for the same work, where we're controlling a much smaller percentage of the dollars. So we can certainly come back to that. Go ahead, let's talk Victorian.
No, the housing trust sounds more fun, or more
I'm sure they
interesting.
can find a spot.
Yeah. With regard to the Victorian Trust, once again, I think it's simple. It's 26 grand. It's a small payment. It goes towards the open space. Certainly, it makes sense, for the downtown, area, and I would say you approve it as 26 grand. Well, whatever the request.
776.
Yes.
So we'll make a motion at the end.
Okay.
It sounds like we're all in consensus there.
I agree.
As soon as we've talked about that, although it is a much larger number, there is only one other open space project.
Yep.
It is the All Wheels of the City of Lowell at $600,000.
Yeah.
I am of the mindset, like you said, Matt, that we should be funding at least equally open space. At $600,000 and then the $26,000 for Victorian, we're still under a third of the dollar values for here. So I'm going to advocate for a full funding of that, although it is a much bigger chunk and we might want to look at it more globally.
To begin with, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't vote for anything that comes from my department. This is one that came from my department, so I won't be voting on this. But I do just want to call, I, of course, would also love to see it fully funded. But I do just think it's important to note that they did the team did say that they could split it up, and so that the project could be done sort of in phases. One phase would be like a design phase with community engagement. We were talking about 3 different park locations as a part of this, so it would be Cummins, Ellis, Rotary, and Hadley Park, are the 3 that would be a part of this. And then that $300,000 could help cover the design for all of the locations and the engagement for the, and then an additional $300,000 for construction. So if there is discussion about phasing it, that's how they presented.
Cool.
Presented it.
And that was going to be my suggestion, to just work through it.
Mhm.
I think at a minimum, being able to get to that phasing portion, we should consider funding it at 300,000, and then maybe see what we've got left after we've kind of reviewed everything, and that would be the first place I would advocate putting money back into. But if we want to just discuss it as a full fund, that isn't my purview.
Is this gonna be a required community engagement like St. Louis?
I
Is
don't
there
know what
funding,
that means.
there's funding attached to the community engagement at St. Louis, I thought. It was like a mechanism of the funding source that the community engagement was required.
I mean, if we commit to it, then we would commit to it. I think everything that the department's doing right now is, the scale of what they're talking about in this project would require us to do pretty substantial community outreach. So yeah, if we got the funding for just the 300,000 design and engagement, then a part of the grant agreement would say that that's what it's for. So like, we'd be obligated to do that.
Why do you raise that, Brad? I'm
Mostly
curious.
just out of curiosity.
Okay.
I have a couple friends on the community engagement team at
Mhm.
St. Louis, and it seems to be working well and actually getting out to more people than I've seen the city get out to in a long time.
Agreed.
It's been very effective. We've gotten a lot of great community feedback, and it's nice to see the city increasing their reach and ability to talk to the general public of the city. So,
Do you think it would help the project is what yours?
yeah, I'm not gonna require it, but I was just wondering if it was gonna be required by a separate funding source that they might be looking at.
I'm not trying to speak ahead of people, but I like the idea of phasing. I think it gives us the opportunity to come back to it. I like your idea as far as, all right, let's, if everybody's in agreement, let's put 300,000 on this marker and then come back to it when we go through everything else. That seems to make sense to me. I
Yeah,
don't know what your thought is.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
I think that's reasonable.
So, nothing finalized, but at least give us
Right.
kind of a
It-
placeholder.
it's a placeholder, yeah.
Yeah, of course. All right, so that concludes open space, for now. There's only one other project that has community housing only here. The task force pot creation is $310,000, and we currently have $313,200, which is $3,200 more. If we vote to fund the trust fund and move off community housing, then we should, I would advocate for showing our support with the last couple dollars that we have toward Suffolk Place and encouraging them to, continue with this fund. We could go bigger than that, but I think that it is a little bit, I think we might be kind of overstating our position if we increase the funding on a community housing project after saying, this is the last one we're working on.
Mhm.
Maybe we reward them for being the last project to come through as this is finalized
Mhm.
from our position.
Are we voting to say that once we give, if we do, to the Affordable Housing Trust, we're done out of housing? Is that what
For
you're
this
you're
year.
proposing?
We are never locked out of seeing community housing projects, but it seems to me that if we're funding in full the trust fund, based on their request each year out of this pot, then that does eliminate the purview from our department.
And I would advocate for funding completely the $310,000 request. I do think I would like to leave enough on the table to have a consideration, because in the end, it's not duplicative if we we fund $100,000 towards a project, that's $100,000 less that has to come out of the housing, the affordable housing.
Mhm.
And so
It
we
gives-
still have.
Gives us flexibility.
Yeah, it's, so I would advocate, obviously, fully funding that, because I think that is in the future the better way and more convenient. But I would like the flexibility to be able to look at some of these other projects and still consider whether
Yeah.
we still would like for this year. And then after this year, I think everybody then understands. So,
I think that that's
Yeah.
reasonable. We don't need to though, right?
Yeah.
And so we could just fund the trust and call it a day
Yep.
and send everybody to the trust. I do think that if the idea is to fully fund the trust, then $3,000 is like
Yeah.
a waste of everyone's collective
Right.
time for the grant agreement process that we
Oh,
have to
okay.
do.
I
To
hadn't
like,
thought about that.
yeah, so,
could we fund the trust with the extra $3,000, go above the request? There's nothing that stops us
Can we
from
do that?
funding it.
we could also just leave it and,
Exactly.
and add it to next
To next
year's,
year, yep.
like,
Okay.
thing that's going to the trust, sorry, that's rude. But if it's gonna be like, and this group has absolutely done investments in projects to like show that we support them, without like really getting close to the initial request. If we wanna do that with any of the housing projects, like, we are free to do that this year, but I think anything less than $25,000 is honestly a waste of like
You're
staff
right.
time.
I hadn't thought about the grant
Yeah.
process. I agree with you. I've been through that, and it is
It's just like a lot of work and a lot
More
of
than
signatures for,
3,200
yeah.
bucks. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
So what I would ask, if everyone is comfortable, is let's fully fund at 310,
Mhm.
the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah.
Move through historic preservation, see how we feel about the historic preservation projects, and then we'll be able to see then what's left,
Yeah.
and whether we feel
Yeah.
that it's appropriate for us to be allocating money into the community housing. Gives us that last look at it before we make a
I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
final say.
That's good.
All right. So right now, it looks like we've done, what, 300,000, 26, the two open space fully funded,
Yeah.
fully funding the,
Half funding
oh,
already.
excuse me, half funding the all wheels, yep. So, do
We
we,
have we're committed is a loose term, right?
Yeah.
Playful.
Yeah, 636,776.
Great.
So we're looking at like just a bit over $1 million.
Okay. So, looking at the historic preservation project, we definitely, we have approximately
There's
$2.5 million,
$2.5
yeah,
million
just
of requests,
approximately
yeah.
$2.5 million in requests. Obviously, each of them are in different. I'd ask for just a quick, because of your knowledge on the Smith Baker Center. What other things, and I guess we can go to the group as well, what other avenues have already been kind of worked through with the city? Is there any other funding that's already been discussed with them, or is it all private funding at this point?
This
you're
is the
aware of.
only request that they've made of municipal funds to date.
Okay, is anyone here from the Smith?
Yeah.
Baker?
Oh, and I am here.
All right, perfect. All right, well, I just wanted to, because obviously it's a very large project, and just wanted to kind of have an understanding of what other avenues you guys have explored. Has there been anything outside of, I know, the private funding that you guys have discussed publicly? Just kind of want to get one last feel on it before we put a marker in.
Yeah, there's, like, no other municipal funds that we've applied for.
Okay,
We're currently in the historic preservation and rehabilitation credits, tax credits process. So we're anticipating 40% back on our QREs for that.
Okay.
And then we're also, pursuing commercial lending, and just private philanthropy as well.
has anything been secured? I mean, you don't have to get into the exact details, but has anything been secured on the private financing? I know there was a specific bank that was trying to
Yeah.
work with you guys.
We have a partnership secured. We're still working out the final details on the actual underwriting of the financing. We're financing it in phases.
Mhm.
So we're very close on the first phase financing, and then we're in pretty advanced stages on the rest as well.
Have they given you any indication that funds like this are either required or very important to you receiving that
Yeah.
private financing?
Yeah, this is definitely a big piece of it. Them seeing the buy-in from the city side is a big piece for them.
All right. Because Lord knows that has been a building we've been looking for an answer to for a little while in this city.
20 years.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to
Yeah,
kind
closer
of,
to 25.
yeah, as we're trying to, this is the old senior center.
You wanna fight?
That's why I tapped you. Oh, fun. Anyways, all right, thank you for the answers. Just wanted to kind of have that as we're deliberating. So I don't have any other specific questions on, I guess, and I could go through each and every last one of them if you want to, but does anybody have any specific questions about historic preservation?
It sounds like we might want to just get through our questions of each project. We'll just work down the list, ask our questions, and then we can kind of look at these holistically, the amount of money we got left. Did I go one by one? And
Okay.
so,
Do market?
there's also the couple that are shared between historic preservation and community housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next one on the list for historic preservation, 246-1 Market.
Do you have any specific questions? Do you want to ask on that one?
I'm good.
Yeah. All right,
That project has previously, I mean, it's just worth noting, I think that we've already committed in previous years $125,000 to that project.
Mhm.
So this isn't their first request to us for this, which also is
Nice
not
number.
new or unique to this project. We've got people come in
Multiple times.
multiple times for the same project. So it's nothing to knock against them, just to know
Yep.
we're already in $125,000 on that project.
And we do encourage that.
Yeah, I mean, if people need it,
Yeah.
we're a great gap filler.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good.
So are there representatives in 246 that are here or online or anything?
Yeah, I think he's on. Do we have any questions for him then?
Yes, hi, or, yeah, this is Kay,
Hi.
Novus Properties. What up?
Thank you. I guess my question would just be, the previous allocation that we had set aside, have you put that to use yet? And, you know, what's the intent to utilize, if it hasn't been put to use, yes, any additional funds that we would stack on top of it? Do you have a specific phasing or anything, just to make final clarification on things?
I think we have been making quite a lot of progress on the project, and I think right now we are in the final phase. We hope to start a project, break ground this year in the spring or early summer timeframe. I think the grant helped big time because the project like this, there always a funding gap between the primary construction and overall budget. So anything that I think the gesture from the city will help us to find any bridge lender or other lender that they're willing to commit and filling the gap.
This money isn't design money, so it is, until ground is broken, this money is just to encourage other people's participation in the project.
So the request that you have for us, is that the final funding you have left, or is there additional funding above and beyond? Will that put you to the finish line of your ability to move forward with the complete project?
Yeah, that's a goal. I mean, I think the overall budget, I think that's the construction budget we have for this year.
So the 779, 121 would be the construction budget for this phase, or would that get you through further?
The whole project budget's almost $10 million.
No, I know.
Right.
I'm just saying
Yes.
the request is to get through the start of first phase, second phase.
Well,
What's that?
the request is
But-
really the line item we have on the overall project that can be classified because they are exterior specific related work, their window and masonry work. That's what the line is
Right.
for.
Yep. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, gotcha.
I remember that from the presentation now. Yep, thank you. Yep.
Yeah, it seems to me if you finish the site in the shell, though, setting up a couple units is the easy part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions on 246-1 Market Street? How about any questions on cobblestones, window replacement?
That's clear, all exterior.
We've talked about funding before. Scott indicated he'd probably pick away at what would be available, as the funding comes in. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of increased cost due to added phasing, but I think that if we give them something, they'll use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the request is for 69 windows. So less obviously means less windows, but we want to spread it out.
Well, and technically, the project can be allocated funds that do not get expended. And if it came back next year, the project could technically be started next year for you to break it in half.
Yeah, I mean,
Funding can go, costs can go
we
up.
could do it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's an efficiency with doing a whole project like all at once and not having to like pay somebody to like mobilize multiple times for 10 windows at a time or something like that.
Right.
The only thing I'll note about this one is that like it is the full project request,
Yeah,
no contribution.
doesn't look like there's any other funding.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is troubling to me. I always like somebody to have a stake in the game,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
I don't have any questions on
No,
that
yeah.
one.
Okay.
So,
We've talked about Smith Baker,
Yep.
93 Mammoth Road, funding request $125,000, conversion of a firehouse into
Fire hydrant. Yeah, good.
I mean, from the city perspective, I will say, we hate to be responsible for having dumpy buildings in the city. So it was good that we were able to do a disposition of this property. It's been vacant and underutilized for a number of years, so it'd be nice to see it do something.
Yeah, a budget of $750,000 is fairly low for the development of 3
I
units.
agree.
Yeah,
Well, and the request is a small portion of the total budget, so. Any questions?
no.
Next up is St. Anne's. Request is $401,125. Last year, they received $256,000. This year's work would be repointing and repairs to the external woodwork. I think there's a little bit more roofing in there as well. Yeah, weatherproofing, yeah.
Repairs, repointing, weatherproofing, and exterior facade.
I guess I would just have one question to the group. I know you've been before us before. If, like we've had to do in the past, if we are unable to get full 400,000, if we were able to get a substantial portion or some portion of that, are there other funding sources that you guys are able to continue to work through that you think would at least continue working the phases, or would you kind of be on hold and before coming back again next year or something along those lines?
We have 3 other pending grants, the Parker Foundation, MPSS, and National Fund for Sacred Places.
Okay. All right, so there may be other opportunities.
There may be other options, but the hope too, you asked us to phase this, it would be a 3-year, it comes out of somewhere.
Yep.
yep,
Yeah,
gotcha.
And this is also, the $400,000, I believe, is phase 2,
right.
right? So there's,
That's why I think if we don't do
Yeah.
the full 400, does it actually become phase
Yeah.
2 over 2 years? You know, exactly. That's why I just wanted to kind of have an idea of the decisions we're making. Okay.
that is the end of our only historic preservation. We also will come back to the Suffolk Place. Mass Mills 4, funding request $803,522. This is of a total budget of over 60 million for the boiler building, creating 79 units of housing, 20% affordable. Restoration and rehab of existing structures. So this is pretty much, the exterior shell in its entirety.
I know we have people from Mass Mills here, but one thing I will say to members for consideration, we built a Riverwalk and attached it to this building. And when they had structural failure, we cannot have that Riverwalk open. It is not safe for us to have people walking there. So this project, although it is not to open the Riverwalk, I do think it's important that people sort of keep in mind that this is an important project to see developed, and that if there's interest in supporting housing projects that is in addition to or historic projects, it's just like another thing to consider that is being impacted by the fact that this building, the earlier we can get it open and functioning, the earlier we can get our Riverwalk open back up.
Can I ask, do we know exactly structurally what would be required to get to a bare minimum? Much like what we did on the, Smith Baker?
A roof in a building
Yeah.
that doesn't have bricks falling onto the
Right,
riverwalk.
right. So, and there are representatives from Mass Mills that are here? Yes, thank you. All right, that obviously is a key point to those of us that are residents that would love to utilize, what has been, created. So how close to being able to bring that back into the kind of city's asset pool here would this type of funding get, or are we still substantially more funding before we would be looking at
Well, I think from this committee, I don't know that it's substantially more. I think, obviously the cost, this is just the boiler building, by the way, that's the cost of that building in this application is about $60 million. Obviously, we're never gonna get $60 million out of this, committee, for the life of that building. But, there's a significant amount of additional sources that we either have or are pursuing. So I would say, Joe Mullins, he's the owner, he's, purchased this in the 80s, did the first 3 phases, the latest phase delivered in 2017, that's the Picker building. This is, obviously our phase 4. Joe's already sunk millions of dollars of his personal money into this phase. Basically moving forward with our architectural design, we're at 30% construction drawings. We've just gone out with, an RFP to contractors, looking to kind of get a GMP, which is kind of like your last price before kind of starting the closing process. We were also awarded HDIP tax credits from the state, $2.5 million last year. We have 2 previous awards, about $250,000 from this committee. Thank you. We're also in talks with Mass Housing for a $10 million equity commitment from their new Build Forge program, and that pairs basically a preferred equity investment with a senior permanent loan. And we've been allocating state historic tax credits essentially since the beginning of that state program. So we've got about $2.9 million out of an $8 million allocation we're looking for the state historic. And I would say that, it's a very difficult development, so everything is relative. We're moving as fast as we can, to see this, redeveloped. I think where, last year, we were at the beginning of our architectural process. This year, we're much closer towards the end. So we have the design picked, we have the structural system picked. We've had hurdles along the way, as you can imagine, of building in this state. So, there's several months left of our design work. There's several months left to get to a GMP, and then there's, kind of the closing process and threading the needle with all of those sources to kind of come together. So, we're hopeful we're gonna get it done.
Could I-
one way or another, but.
And listen, again, lifelong Llewellyn, seeing that building come back to life would be wonderful. It's such a, a prominent position. So just to the question that was being asked, how far away do you think we would potentially, assuming you got full funding, how far away would we be before you think the building would be in a position that would allow the Riverwalk to be reopened in a timeline? Guesstimate.
I think that if we were to look at a construction start at this point, we're definitely looking at a 2027 construction start at the earliest, given everything, just given winter conditions and that sort of thing. We may be able to start some of our environmental remediation that needs to happen in the basement earlier. The best time to do that's in the summer when the water levels are low. There's a lot of water infiltration in there. I think there's a question of if it's open during construction or not, and at what phases of construction, and what does that look like, and what are those costs? Because there's a significant amount of shoring that needs to happen. But on the 2 sides of the river, you can't externally or do shoring on the exterior, so you have to internally shore the building. And so if we can get the masonry done on those sides, and we're shored up, and the roof is on, and we're on interior work, there's
A long way.
20 minutes,
It's a long
30.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and I appreciate it, I just wanted to, it's a concern, and I
Yeah.
think it's a concern everybody should have,
Yeah.
getting that back into, like I say, something that's beneficial to all the members of the city. Do we have the ability to put any kind of restrictions or commitments to how the fund, meaning, our funds need to be utilized in a way that ensure the most expedited process to open it? I don't know how to even,
Yeah, no,
you know.
I think that that's fair. I think we had a lesson learned when this group funded Acre Crossing, several years ago, where we tried to do a little extra with some of our restrictions. And what ended up happening was then the group started having conflict with their other funders.
Okay.
And so we took the approach that, our housing restrictions, for example, were gonna be as restrictive as the most restrictive other funder.
Okay.
Instead of trying to do our own thing, because it just it complicates the capital stack for people. So, could we, maybe, would I recommend it? No.
Thanks. Yep.
Not to argue against myself here, but in the trying to be as transparent as I can, the main power building would still be there, and that is still a liability. And that's where the major parapet collapse happened, not at the boiler building.
Right.
And so this request was for the boiler building only. Would leave you with that as
Sorry.
well.
So what's being done with the boiler building?
Well, we're
This is-
here for the
No, no,
boiler.
no,
For the
the
main
other
power
building.
building, there's only so many funding sources available, and we had to essentially pick one to focus on. And so we put all of our effort into the biggest of
So
their-
we're not even close to 2030, we're like 2040.
Maybe.
So the next
But-
open space
but that's
request
not
will be
to say
some
there
kind of
are
canopy
funds
over the
available
Riverwalk.
for facade stabilization through the LDFC, which is something we're looking into. I just wanted to be.
No,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it, I definitely appreciate it. Yeah,
I guess the question that I would have for this project is, because it is both a project that is creating affordable housing and one that is obviously restoring a historic building, there's, we could make a request, we could make a funding recommendation for this project, under the historic, or just under the housing, or a little bit of both. So I think we have to take that into account when we're looking at how we're splitting the funds up, because we know that we have to make minimum percentage commitments.
but those are small, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like,
Very
yeah,
small.
it's small money. I mean, realistically, we'll go over those and,
Any project,
yeah.
literally any one project.
Yeah.
Probably right now. Okay.
But if we're doing historic preservation, that one does come with restrictive language that gets into the grant agreement. We put a historic restriction, right, which we wouldn't put a historic restriction on a project that we're funding just for housing, for example.
Gotcha.
So we do need to be clear about how we're approaching the funding.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions. Anybody? Do you have?
No.
Sure,
Sure.
good.
No.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Last up is, the veterans.
Second. Still got Suffolk in the room.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about something. The only question I had about this project was, it looks like the exact amount was requested of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I'm trying to understand, is this just trying to spread out the requests because funding's really competitive, or is this in addition to that request? Is there somebody here for that? Yeah, hey.
We had applied for community preservation funding, for acquisition. And obviously, we were in a position to buy the building, we just couldn't, but it was just one of those deals that was too good, we had to make it work somehow. So we pulled out all the stops, and we went, to your point, Mr. LaLasha, we went to every single funding source we could possibly think of. So that being the case, we also applied for, under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, figuring we had to come up with $440,000 for a down payment, and we had, the grand total of zero, because we had just bought 147 East Merrimack Street. So, it came to light that we could potentially get a bridge loan from under the Affordable Housing Trust, and apply for CPC funds, apply for Mass Housing Finance, go to the LDFC, which we have done all of that. go to the Parker Foundation. And we were able to put that together. So we were able to get, through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, $500,000. We closed on that, about three or 4 weeks ago, and we were able to close on the purchase of the building already. So we have possession of the building now. We're hoping to have veterans moving in there. Might be a little aggressive for April 1st, but we're gonna be pretty close. We have Lowell Housing Authority in mind too, maybe taking veterans on their housing waiting list. That could, be a stopgap for them there. But that being said, there's different funding sources. So this was looked at as, a repayment, of the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay.
So kind of a, borrow to pay back. And that was exactly what we tried to do, and that seems to be exactly the direction it's going in.
Okay, so if we were,
If we fund this, we're giving it
giving
to,
it back, yeah.
giving it to the other people, the other trust.
Which,
Okay,
if we believe in, the projects. Okay, I have mine.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
One more housing?
Suffolk.
Suffolk
Yep,
Place.
we know Suffolk is the, the extension of a previous project, correct? Okay. Okay.
Well, it's not connected,
Yeah, yes.
it's not connected to Acre Crossing, but, it's in the same block, so it's connected in that respect.
And we have previously
$400,000 in here.
$400,000.
Over two
Yeah.
cycles, so 200,
Yeah.
over two different cycles.
So this is an $850,000 request for a $17.6 million project, for 33 residential units at 408 Suffolk, 31 bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms, similar to the Acre Crossing project that received funding also, and $400,000 in 2 phases of funding previously allocated.
And the reason I wanted to get to this point is really to what Member Tenzar was referencing. I think one of the ways that we can show our support to the other board is by still showing that there is some level of commitment that we're willing to make to show them that we still think this is something that they should take very seriously. And so I didn't want to just out of hand, just kick it right over to them. I think some level of funding from us continues to show that there is commitment that a previous board or another board has continued to say. By no means do I think we would be funding to the number that's being requested. I think that can be done through the other group. But I do think putting a number there, the only thing I would ask is, does that create another additional work for your group if there were funding from us and funding from the Affordable Trust? Are those two different agreements?
I mean, that's our job, so it's
Yep.
not like,
As long as there's a substantial amount of
You
money.
guys still get paid for
yeah,
that.
that's the work that we have to do, and that's fine. I just wanted to caution that, like, at some point,
Yeah,
the
no.
paperwork is kind of annoying, so it's gotta be like, and honestly, it's like kind of annoying for both sides, right? It's not just us, it's for the applicants as well, so, I think, like, I don't wanna, not to sound like disparaging, like a token award or commitment, I think is fine, we can do that. But I do think it's just like, it's gotta be substantial enough to make the paperwork worth it.
So if we were to fund a project this year, fund some projects in future years, every project that is applicable to apply to us can also apply to the fund, right? And vice versa, right? These are the same monies that we're talking about. Historically, this board has tried to, for every project that we deem, almost every project that's come in front of us has been funded in some regard. So all we're doing is taking historic money from the fund and saying, yes, we like all of the projects. In theory, if we were more selective and we were saying, here's our true recommendation, our most important recommendation, instead of just providing a backing, I might be more inclined to agree that that's the direction that we should go. But I think that if we're funding the housing trust here, we should let them work. Because we are not selective, we are supportive here as a board.
I think another thing, and I am of the opinion, that if we're gonna fund the trust, then we hand over those duties, that we hand off housing responsibility to the trust. The other, I think, the thing that I think is more beneficial actually to applicants is that we have a pretty rigid structure for our applications. We take them once a year. It is on a very set schedule. That is not how projects are financed. And an affordable housing trust is structured because they have access to these funds that sit, and they have access to them immediately. They can take projects as needed. They take applications on a rolling basis. So they can take them when people have the request, not when our grant cycle allows us to. So it's just like another reason why I think funding a trust and having it go through that is a model that makes a lot of sense.
One other piece for clarity is the way that I see it is that we don't see any more housing projects in front of us. And the types of projects that are housing and also historic preservation would be separated, and you would only apply to us for the historic preservation portion of your project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can take the historic or the housing portion and apply to the fund. I'm not sure it's necessary for us to make that distinction this year, especially not at this late. But I think that, you know, it should. I wanted to bring that up for understanding how we're looking going forward.
And I totally disagree with both of your opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unusual for me.
I like disagreement.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, I don't like giving up. If I'm going to decide things, I have no problem deciding issues. I mean, if there's something coming up, I think it gives us the flexibility. I think you can do both. I don't think you need to we need to abdicate our responsibility in this for housing just by giving the money to the housing trust, because the housing trust isn't the CPC and it's not the city council. So I see it as more of an opportunity to potentially do both. I wouldn't be a fan of not seeing housing projects also come to us as well next year. As far as this year, I think it's too late to change the rules, you know, to say that, yeah, we're not going to deal with housing this year.
Well, I think funding the trust is still dealing with housing.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm making any decision. I don't think I'm helping. I don't think I'm supporting. From what I'm hearing, and this is only my first time in this budget process, but what I'm hearing from everybody here is apparently these sums of money apparently leverage other funds. That's what it sounds like. And showing this type of support from the city is helpful. So I like that opportunity.
I will say again, that because we don't pick and choose and we give money to everybody, it seems counterintuitive to we should expect that eligible projects the city will be doing the same thing and trying to give money out to the people in town who need it. And our giving the money to the fund has to go through city council. So I disagree with you. It is part city council. City council would have to come to the same agreement that we get. They could say, we're not funding the fund at all, right? And they can do that every year. Every year that we go give our 10% at least to the fund, they have the opportunity to say, no, we want to put it back in the hands of the Community Preservation Committee. We don't like the way that the city's done it. I think that there are checks.
I was just going to ask in that, just a clarification. Does the Affordable Housing Trust have the same process
No.
as far as nothing has to go before the council
No.
at that point?
No, they're an independent board.
Independent board.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had expressed from the very beginning that there's a hierarchy of need, and I am also a firm believer in trying to get projects as close to completion as possible gives us the biggest bang for our buck.
Yeah.
So I really like to try to, you know, to get to that solution. And I also am sensitive to the last point that Member Tenzar had just brought up, is that people have gone through this process. They have become before us. They have done that. And so as we go through with our deliberation, I don't want it for this year completely abdicate potentially funding anything because of any one category. I do believe going forward, though, we will have our best bang for the buck with, what?
Yeah.
Member or Chairman Budenice at this point?
Currently member.
Currently.
So, do we want to start making recommendations
that's
then?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. So, is everyone comfortable going through the historic first, kind of giving ourselves placeholders, and then going back from there?
Yeah, that's,
If you're comfortable with
You want
that
me to
being
start?
hierarchy.
You want to start?
Just one item, right?
Yep.
We have about $1.37 million, and we have 7 items in front of us. On average, we have just under $200,000 per project.
Yep.
Good.
I've talked a lot.
I haven't shut up either, so, okay, my suggestions for placeholders, cobblestones, 125. Smith Baker, 300. The next historic,
Mammoth.
which one?
93 Mammoth.
93. I had that at 50. Which one?
St. Anne,
St. Anne's, I had at 200.
and 246.
246, I had at 125.
I had a couple different scenarios, but my favorite one is almost exactly the same as yours. I would consider St. Anne's a little bit higher, though.
How much?
I had it at 300,000.
What did you reduce?
There's
Nothing
still
yet.
money left over,
Yeah.
because we haven't dealt with Suffolk, Mass Mills,
Yeah.
or Veterans.
Okay, so they're
It
coming
also
out of the
reduced
other ones?
from my numbers all week.
That's just what you do.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I don't know yet. I mean,
I,
just saying.
look, I like the fact that St. Anne's works with the city on events. You know, it's a beautiful historic structure down there. They're always there for whatever the city does, so, I could definitely live with that and then move on to the last piece.
I think $300,000 for Smith Baker as an initial fund is a lot compared to what we do for, what we've done for other projects in the past, particularly ones that we know have like a long sort of game ahead of them for fundraising. So that was the only one that like jumped out at me as like pretty high for an initial request for a project that we know is going to be multiple years and that they'll be back in front of us.
Yeah, I was.
To be fair, I didn't have a number in mind,
Yeah.
so like I
No,
don't have a number, but just like 300
I had
seems like a
initially
lot.
put a placeholder in at 200.
I looked at 300, and the only reason I looked at 300 is because this has been a beast that we've dealt with for 25 years, and it sucks. I mean, it's just an eyesore in the city. And, you know, my thought was, let's put something towards it to you know, to help leverage whatever other funding that they have. And that's what I was thinking. That's why I came up with those numbers.
I fluctuated between 100 and 300. Because of its uncertainty, I would say it's the most uncertain project in front of us. 100 gets it going, you know, shows our support, and there will be more years of applicability, and I'm sure that we will see them again in any case. So.
But does it jumpstart it?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that's
think
my
that
question, and I don't
Based on
know.
the conversation.
I don't know.
Based on conversation, I think the most important thing is that the private financiers that are trying to work with them want to see a substantial commitment. It
Right.
allows them to feel, okay,
Yeah.
we'll be in the game as well.
Yeah.
And so that was why the number I had come up with was 200.
Yeah.
Because again, I had kind of come in that same fluctuation. I think that shows a substantial commitment if, you know, having worked in banking in the past, for a project of this size, for the stuff they want to do, a continuous commitment would help a private financier see that the city is continuously staying involved.
So you're thinking of this as phases?
Yeah, similar to what we've done at Acre Crossing,
Yeah.
similar to what we've done, you know,
Okay.
in other projects. So that was my, you know, look at it.
Mhm.
So,
This would also have to, I think it's the only one, because I think Mammoth Road closed already. But obviously their funding would have to be contingent on actually purchasing the building.
Yep.
and that was the only other one. Mammoth, I think you had put in at, was it 50?
Oh, where am I?
Mammoth is
Yeah.
50.
50, yeah.
Yeah, the bang for the buck effect here we get a lot of bang for our buck on that one, so I was looking a little bit more of a substantial commitment in that one. Meaning, I think we're getting a lot at that construction number. That is a very low number to come up with 3 units in the city of Lowell. And so I would double that, I would go to 100,000.
So to me, if we're gonna be talking about the most bang for our buck for housing units, it goes to veterans, for the Bridge Club. That was the best rate for housing, for bed.
Yeah.
It's also community housing more than private market. I added $50,000 as well.
At
Mammoth. I
Mammoth.
added
okay,
50.
no, I heard. Okay.
All right,
So, that's 5 out of the 5 out of the, oh, I missed.
that's the historic, right?
So there's 3 items left that we haven't talked about: Suffolk, Mass Mills, and veterans. If we've got everything penciled in, we've got $571,000 remaining. Which
What
is,
did we pencil in?
so I have right now 125 for 246 Market, 125 for Cobblestone,
Yep, yep,
200 for Smith Baker,
okay,
50 for Mammoth,
yep,
300 for St. Anne's. And that could be $200 or $300. We discussed both numbers.
okay, I could live with either,
Yeah.
okay. And so what's left?
$571,000.
571,
And that's St. Anne's at 300.
I'm
okay.
sorry?
That's St. Anne's at 300.
That's with St. Anne's at
At
300.
At 300.
Yeah.
And so what's left? What are we looking at? What's
Suffolk, Mass Mills,
Suffolk,
and
Mass Mills,
veterans.
and 367 Pawtucket.
left? Suffolk, yeah. Mass Mills, yeah. And then the Bridge Club?
Yeah, 267.
So the Bridge
Um,
Club, as we understand, is giving more money to affordable housing.
But it's also like the
Yep.
per unit
The trust that I like?
breakdown of that.
Yeah, I have no objection, I just,
I don't
wanted-
either,
yeah,
I don't either.
yeah, I
I just hate losing control.
mean, it's a great.
Yeah, oh, sure.
So,
What are you thinking?
no, there's no restrictions, there's nothing that would say that it has to do that? Or would
What do you
we-
mean?
That the money would have to be paid back to the affordable housing
Hmm.
through the loan that has basically been awarded?
Well, that, I mean, we would contribute funds to the project. We would not dictate.
Where the funds
They're
go.
eligible
Right,
under housing.
yeah,
And like our grant to them would be to create housing. How they choose to spend that money to create a project that creates housing
mm-hmm.
is like,
So it's their
Like,
choice
none
to
of
pay
our
me back.
business, right? Like, we don't have, so I don't know what their agreement is with the trust, and it actually should be irrelevant to us, right? And so like, because at the end of the day, our contribution can either go to like the literal paint on the wall construction,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or to pay off an acquisition loan. But either way, at the end of the day, we're getting the units, and that's what we
Oh,
actually
yeah.
care about. So the restriction would just be that there's some creation of affordable housing.
Yep.
That would be the only restriction.
I only reference it because of, the recent understanding of how certain buildings in the city would play out.
We wouldn't get
We
into
don't
that
have
level of
any
it.
ability of doing that, okay.
Hmm.
All right,
All right.
so,
What do you
Sorry,
got?
can you tell me how much money we have left? 5 something, you said?
571.
71.
311?
What?
Pawtucket,
Oh,
getting
oh.
3 plus. Mass Mills and Suffolk Place getting 1 each for no reason
Pawtucket.
other than.
I had the veterans certainly at the highest. I mean, I've made
Yeah.
that clear. I think that splitting,
They also haven't come to us before, aren't sitting on any
Yeah.
of our money, so.
so we've considered awarding $125,000 to both 246 and to Cobblestone.
Yep.
If we give the same amount of money to both Suffolk and Mass Mills, then we have $321,000 remaining.
For
With
veterans.
$125,000 each?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then that 300 to the
That
bridge.
feels okay to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm comfortable.
So 300 to the bridge, 125 Mass Mills, 125 Suffolk, and the balance stays in the pot?
Make sure we got it right, yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so if we
125,
put $300,000 on veterans,
Yep.
then we have just under $21,000 left in the pot.
Yeah.
I like the idea of not doing dollars and cents.
Mhm.
We've done it before, and it just ends up
Yeah,
prolonging the magic.
yeah.
So, the only one that we have change, past 1,000 is the Victorian that we funded in full. Everything else is around 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for less than $30,000, I think it'd be lame to not give them their full amount.
Yeah. So currently, we're showing $300,000, which is half funding of all wheels. 26,000 and change, full funding at Victorian.
Yep,
$125,000 to Suffolk,
Yep.
to Mass Mills 4,
yep,
same.
yep,
$300,000 to the Bridge Club for veterans,
yep,
Yeah.
310 for the Housing Task Fund, Trust Fund.
yep,
That's full.
Mhm.
yep,
125,000 to 246-1 Market.
yep.
125.
But, during that 3 months, you will take the other one.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you over there. Is it directed at us?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you guys.
Okay,
Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
$125,000 for cobblestones.
yep,
200,000 for Smith Baker.
yep,
Yeah.
50 for 93 Mammoth,
Yeah.
yep,
and 300 for St. Anne's.
Yep.
Yep.
That totals $1,986,776, leaving us with just under 21,000 in the pot.
okay.
Satisfies all three of our minimum requirements
Yeah.
for the contribution.
Yeah.
Although it's not even really a minimum requirement. We can spend nothing.
Yeah.
But we have satisfied our categorical requirements
Mhm.
for everything here. It would leave us with a general balance of that $21,000.
I also think, and there was an email question that I think we probably should just say for the record that, the funds that we're distributing today is less than the debt payment for the Raleigh's Farm, which is also an open space project that this group had, prior CPC groups voted to support, and there was a debt service payment, vote that happened several months ago, and so the funds that so Raleigh's Farm is like in the mix. That debt service is something that we are paying for. It just was already taken off the top.
It's been approved, and it is taken care of before that, just over $2 million that we're working with.
And so the only last question I would have for you is there value in allocating any of this money towards affordable housing or historic with less restrictions one way or the other? Should we make that determination now?
So the historic preservation, actually, thank you for asking that, because this is a thing that has come up recently. In earlier years of the CPC's sort of like creation, there were historic preservation grants that were awarded, and we were very particular about ensuring that people understood that if you accept a historic preservation award, you are accepting that preservation restriction on the entirety of the property. Our law department has changed thinking on it. Yes. And so now the restriction is going to be placed, unless you are in a historic building that is in a historic district, and then our rules do not supersede that, so, which I'm sure everybody who owns that property knows, if they have historic property, but our restriction would just be placed on the things that you're spending our money on.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't change the designation of a building. A building that is eligible for historic preservation is in the historic district. I'm going to use St. Anne's because they're in front of us, and obviously a historic building. But our restriction would be just for the work that we are paying for. It wouldn't get them out of having to work with the historic board or any of those kinds of things, but I think it's important. So another example was like Wanalancet Mill and the smokestack, which we supported in a previous year. So the restriction is now just on the smokestack.
That's awesome.
So
it
makes life easier for property owners and their finance people to like not have like hidden little restrictions from other things. So that is a change that came out, and grant awards moving forward and previous grant awards will reflect that specifically. It's probably worth kind of saying that.
So then, my only thing is, question would be then for Mass Mills and for the veterans, are we awarding that under affordable housing, or are we awarding that under historic? it seems like it's less restrictive if we do it under housing. Because there's no restrictions, or I'm asking for guidance.
I mean, the housing component requires the affordability restriction, the historic requires only work to the exterior. I think,
Well, I would always prefer to award under historic, under the criteria of open space, historic, and then housing. But if it makes a project more difficult to get to completion, I don't have to die on that, hill.
like, for the Bridge Club, I think it should be under the housing then, because
So,
then it does make it so that they have to spend the $300,000 only on exterior improvements.
If we
Yeah.
yeah, that's
that
my
makes
concern,
sense.
is what if
Correct,
we,
that's why I wanted to get the clarity.
Yeah.
That is,
what if we've authorized a dollar value which is greater than either one of their pots? And then we only put
You can
a
only do
restriction
exterior, yeah.
on
Right,
one
right,
pot.
right.
Yeah.
That would limit, that they'd have to give some of that pot back.
Yeah.
Which they could do.
Yeah.
Right, and they could probably pass that very easily with city council, although it is unfortunate that we, didn't see that ahead of time, right?
Mhm.
This might be a question for these applicants. I would imagine that at $125,000, Mass Mills could go either way. We might just ask them what they think. That might be a question that they're not prepared to ask at this time. I would understand that. But maybe we can talk a little bit about what those restrictions entail. Would you be able to
Yeah,
kinda
so
outline those restrictions?
so again, for the historic preservation, it can only be used for exterior, which I think Mass Mills clearly has more than
Millions, I'm
$125,000 of exterior work to
We
do.
want a Riverwalk back. maybe we should
I'm
do
not
that.
sure that, so that's it with historic preservation, right? It can only go for exterior things.
Mhm.
It cannot be used at all for interior
Right.
construction work. Affordable housing restrictions, I think, like I said, lesson learned from Acre Crossing, the language that we have used has kind of generically been, like, our restriction will match your most restrictive other funding source. So any one of these affordable housing projects go to several state and federal and whatever funding agencies. They all have various restrictions. So I think, it's safe for us to just defer to the most restrictive because they already have to meet that.
Right.
Because their funding already requires it. And then the mechanism by which those projects are monitored over time, like they have to prove it, that they're meeting those restrictions anyway, and submit that information to those other funding sources as well. So I think it's like a safe bet for us to just defer to their most restrictive.
One more
and leave
thing
it at that.
about historic preservation is, yes, the money can only be spent on the shell, but it also puts them into a historic, I'm forgetting the word of this, but they have a historic requirement on anything that they've spent that money on. A historic restriction, right?
Yeah.
Now it is locked into the historic, upkeep, right?
Like
So-
the tower,
Yeah.
the smokestack.
We're giving you money to spend to fix something in the historic manner, and now it needs to be kept historic for the eternity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a
Whereas-
restriction.
Whereas the housing money is like, we're just mimicking somebody else's requirements, so they're not really extra onus because of the money that we're giving. So I would say that typically community housing requirements are less restrictive from us, right? 'Cause they're just duplicated.
Yep.
So then, is there anything to the exterior of the buildings that we feel is vital for Mass Mills or for the Bridge Clubs project that would, in perpetuity, we would like to see historically maintained?
Do we have to do that? I don't know if we have, I think that it is, we award the money and they pick what they want to do it on.
Oh.
I think. I don't, because this is news to me. It just seems the way that
Do we award it under a category?
Be awarded under historic preservation?
We've never
Well, that's what I
worried,
mean.
we've never worried
One that
about
has
it.
both, one that has the ability to be in both areas.
We've never worried about it before because it never was a single item.
Yeah.
And that was, we were talking about the change in the law decision,
Yeah.
is that now it can be a single item restriction
Yeah.
instead of a property restriction.
Yeah. It's actually irrelevant because we're meeting the minimum
You should have said
percentage.
that 10 minutes ago,
Sorry.
that I was talking about something irrelevant.
Just
Because like the minimum we have to meet is just 10%. We have exceeded that.
Yeah.
So any one of these projects,
Yeah, I was just trying to avoid
Yeah.
additional restrictions on them unless we feel that putting a restriction specifically fits the criteria of what we're really looking for. So if that's the case, it sounds like they should be under.
I think the good thing about CPC funds is that it's available and more flexible than some of the other funding that people are getting. And so to me, like any opportunity we have to be like continue to be as
That was
flexible
my
as
intent,
possible,
exactly.
is what we should try to do, because I think it just like makes it, it's already complicated enough to finance every single one of these kinds of projects, and so if we add our own little unique thing, then it like can just create a ripple effect. I actually, if I remember correctly, Steve, I think Acre Crossing ended up in front of the board like 3 different times because of like these minor little tweaks that just like didn't come out until people really got into the weeds of it. So I think like just keep it in the general bucket, don't get too specific about it.
So on the Bridge Club, are we just leaving it under housing rather than historic?
I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that community housing restrictions are less restrictive than historic preservation restrictions. And as long as all the money that we're giving can be used in the housing bucket and not, that's the only concern left. Really, the only concern that I see is, and it sounds like it should probably be fine, is $300,000 of the $500,000 request from the Bridge Club. Can that all be used in community housing? Given that they're already starting to think about putting people in the building, I'm guessing the shell's in pretty good shape. You know, you can always do a little bit of masonry work, but.
Well, the application was for acquisition of the building, right?
True.
Correct.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that,
Okay.
just
It's
that
housing.
fundamentally would
It's
be,
housing, yeah.
So,
just the delivery of the fact that they bought the building for this purpose means we've delivered community housing.
So Suffolk, Mass Mills, and veterans can all be handed this money with a community housing restriction. And 246 Market, Cobblestone, Smith Baker, 93 Mammoth, and St. Anne's would be handed this money with a historic preservation restriction.
all right. Fully support the Bridge Club project, but I have a question that now just comes up here as we say that.
Do it.
So if the 300,000 was acquisition, the project has already been acquired, the funds to acquire it have already been given through the Affordable Housing Trust. Through a loan, we can't require repayment,
It's not.
so it can go to operation.
It can go to however they want to acquire the building.
And it's accounting more than anything.
To acquire
It has
the
to be.
building.
It has to be acquiring. And
Got
it is not,
All clear.
it's not the housing trust fund that we've been talking about. Their money came from the LDFC's
That
downtown
program.
buildings fund. Downtown building?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
The money came from, the LDFC's, what fund at the LDFC? Out of curiosity.
It wasn't
For the
LDFC,
loan
that's-
acquisition.
No, it was the trust.
affordable.
It was the trust.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I saw
They got a
Bob
loan
before
from
the
the
committee.
trust.
itself. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake.
So, but it has to be done for acquisitions, it can't be done for operations.
They asked for it for acquisition.
I know that, but do they have to use it? You get what I'm saying?
But
They asked for,
isn't it accounting? Isn't this just an accounting? It's just an accounting exercise. It's, can you show this was used towards the acquisition? It's an accounting thing. I mean, it's not like you're gonna give them $5 and they're gonna go put a down payment on the house.
They already own the house.
Right.
So I'm giving money for acquisition on something that's already purchased.
they're paying off their loan. They're
They're
saving their
paying
money.
off a
We
bridge.
hope.
Aren't they literally paying off a bridge loan?
I get it, but after what just happened with the senior center guys, I'm gonna ask a lot of questions, okay? All right, everyone is comfortable, I support the project completely, make that understood.
I'm really comfortable with the last breakdown that we had
I am as
and
well.
would move to approve that.
I would agree.
I would agree.
We discussed.
I would agree.
Do we need to say it one more time, or you got it, Peter?
Could I get it one more time to double check? I definitely missed all of this welcome.
Okay.
Oh, they didn't get anything.
I will start from the top. All Wheels Welcome, $300,000. Within open space restriction there, right?
Yeah, that's under the open space category.
Yep.
everything has to get a restriction, right? When we give money, it gives a restriction.
It has to be like under their specific categories, yeah.
Victorian, 26,776. Suffolk, 125,000.
Yep,
Mass Mills, 125,000.
yep,
Veterans, 300,000. AHTF, 310,000.
yep,
246 Market, 125,000.
yep,
Cobblestones, 125,000.
yep,
Smith Baker, 200,000.
yep,
93 Market, 50,000.
yep,
St. Anne's, 300,000.
yep.
And we're acknowledging that we have a balance of some amount that's just gonna roll into the pool for next year.
Next year.
Correct.
So, if everybody's in agreement, we got a couple of people online. Anybody want to chime in one more time?
No, I'm good with that. I think everyone should be pretty satisfied. I hope so. At least that's the hope, right? But no, this is good, across the board.
So, at this point, it would conclude our year if we could, accept a motion for these totals as noted with the open space, with the restrictions per category.
Peter, do we typically do these individually?
Oh, we have
Because I'm
a
like,
lot of motions
I was
to
just
make.
gonna say, like, wait a minute, because I don't usually vote on the ones from DPD, and so it's not usually like a bundle.
That's why it's individual?
Yeah. I don't know if that's why, but I think we have historically always voted on them individually.
All right, talk.
Anybody, if anybody wants to vacate,
I will make a
Now's the
motion for
time.
everything but.
We could bundle, right? Bundle
Yeah.
with seven.
Yeah.
Bundle? Anything against bundling? Anything in restrictions? All right.
This is
Oh,
Geico.
actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, here we go.
I'm sorry. I can vote for everything but All Wheels Welcome and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Both of those are coming out of my department. So, I would make a motion to bundle everything but those two at the funding amounts that we previously discussed.
Second.
with the restrictions discussed.
With restrictions.
And I'll
Yeah.
second the motion.
All in favor, roll call?
Vice Chair Vice Rose,
Yes.
Member Tunzar.
Yes.
Member Latcher.
Yes.
Member Butenaz.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member ND.
Yes,
And Member DeJesus.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to, accept the, funding request for All Wheels Welcome, with restrictions that have been previously discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Vice Chair Vice Rose,
Abstain.
Member Tunzar.
Yes.
Member Latcher.
Yes.
Member Butenaz.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member ND.
yes.
And Member DeJesus.
Yes.
You wanna take
One
the
more.
affordable one? This is your
No,
favorite program.
no,
This is your favorite.
I don't.
You don't want it? All right, I'll do it. Troy, you wanna take the motion on
I
this
don't
one?
even think I'd second it. No, I'm kidding.
You wanna take one? All right. Well, I'll make a motion to accept the Affordable Housing Trust, at the amount that was previously and with the restrictions we'd previously discussed.
Second.
I don't know if there's actually restrictions on a trust fund.
Oh, we should put restrictions on it.
Yeah, hammer 'em.
All right.
Yeah.
They have to come before us.
Danny's gonna be there.
Restrictions are required?
Yeah, if any restrictions that were
Yeah.
verified.
I love that.
Yeah, no need if there's
I'll
no.
second that.
All right.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Vice Rose,
I'm an abstain.
Member Tunzar.
Approve.
Member Latcher.
Yes.
Member Butenaz.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member ND.
Yes.
And Member DeJesus.
Yes.
Great.
I know it's not on the agenda, but we did continue from last time the election of officers.
Can we just, like, before we run in, if people want to leave, we're just getting to like the real weeds.
Wrap it up. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I just figured they don't want to see you
Yeah, I get it. I was trying to make it quick.
See you soon, Representative O'Para.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you next year.
Yeah, literally.
No.